We now take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. Here is Reverend Martin.
All right, thank you, Dr. Blackwell. And let me say Hotep Habaragani to my Africana Studies colleagues, contemporaries, friends, and seekers after the truth all. And let me say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but certainly never good night and never ever goodbye, because I've always found goodbyes traumatizing, especially since my own beloved wife died back in 2012. And I'm going to grieve my way and you grieve your way. This broadcast is a social justice broadcast, and let me hasten on to add that my name is the Reverend Nathaniel Wayne Martin. I am the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church here in the city of Los Angeles, and we're located, our address, write it down, 8916 South Main Street in the city of Los Angeles, 9003. All right, the city of Los Angeles, LA, 9003. And we're being hosted by our sister church, the Shiloh Missionary Christian Church, of whom my good friend, the Reverend Dr. Della F. Hollins, is the pastor. And we invite you to come and worship with us on this coming Lord's Day, this Sunday morning, beginning at 10 a.m. for Sunday school. And then, of course, morning worship will begin around 11:15, 11:30, because people go back in the fellowship hall and you can't get them out. They're back there eating donuts and drinking coffee, swatting flies and telling lies. But we generally try to start morning worship around 11:15. All right, and we welcome you to any and all of our services. Again, let me say this is a social justice offering episode, and so we try not to get off into the preachy, even though how shall they hear without a preacher, and how shall he preach except he be sent is our marching orders. But for this little while here, 30 minutes or 29 minutes, however long these segments may be, not long, we try to stick with what's happening in the current news and apply the Word of God to it as God shall guide us, and trust that you may be edified or benefited or helped by the various offerings. All right? All right, let us go to the scriptures, because how shall they hear without a preacher, and how shall he preach except he be sent? The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, but the word of God shall abide forever. All right, and our first reference for this time we find in Proverbs 14 and the 34th verse, which says, righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. And then we follow that up with Micah's admonition in the 6th chapter of Micah's little book, and the 8th verse, social justice speaker, saying, he hath showed thee, O man, what is good. And what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. And then hurrying over to the New Testament, Luke chapter 12, the first verse, the last clause of that first verse, where Jesus warns his disciple, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. And Ephesians 6th chapter and verses 11 and 12, which are really our marching orders. It says, put on the whole armor of God, I'm reading now, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For, verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. The word of God for the people of God. The eternal God is thy refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. So says the word of God to you, and may God's blessing find you. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let the whole world keep silence before him. We are in the throes of a fascist takeover. Anytime you have the President of the United States and the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, usurping and supplanting the mayor and the chief of police of Washington, D.C., issuing directives that said that from now on the appointed commissioner, who is appointed by Donald John Trump, under the auspices of Pam Bondi, their words or their orders are to be followed just like she was the chief of police. So you defrocked and deactivated, really, the chief of police. And you made the chief of police a figurehead. And you have assumed authority. Well, see, that is a fascist takeover. That's just fascism. And we've seen this movie before in other parts of the country. And the problem with D.C. is not a state, it's a district, the District of Columbia, made up of property that was ceded to the federal government from the surrounding states of Maryland and the surrounding states of Virginia. And so they call that the District of Columbia. They do not have an elected representative like the rest of the 50 states do, and they do not have a senator, because they can't have a senator. They're not a state. And so Washington, D.C. has always been the slop bucket of whoever was in the Oval Office. And that's going all the way back going all the way back to when the Washington, D.C. was built, because originally the capital was in Philadelphia, but when Virginia and Maryland ceded enough land, then they began to build the city of Washington, D.C. into what it is today. Going back to the fact that Benjamin Banneker, a black man, laid that city out, all of its streets and all of its avenues and all of its monuments and statues and all of those things have Masonic significance if you look at it from that direction. And so Donald Trump is doing now in D.C. what he first attempted to do in the city of Los Angeles, but the black mayor, Karen Bass, would not acquiesce to this takeover. And Mayor Karen Bass and Governor Gavin Newsom, along with other states, took the Trump administration to federal court, and the courts have issued an injunction against what the Trump administration was trying to apply here in Los Angeles. But of course, in the state of California, you have elected Congress people. You have Maxine Waters. You have two senators, Senator Alan Schiff and the other person's name escapes me at the moment. I'm gonna keep pressing on, but you get the idea. When you have representatives to represent you in Congress, then the federal government cannot just come in and take over your state or your city or your municipality as they are doing in a district, which is what the difference is between Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles. And so, yes, it is a fascist act. It is a facet of fascism, which is a Nazi, Stalinist policy. First, they come in and take over the administration of the government, of the municipalities, and then they take over the education of the children, and they take over the libraries, and you're seeing that being enacted all across this nation, even in the Sunshine State of Florida, where the governor has banned a lot of books from being taught in the libraries or being taught in the school. And so fascism has reared its ugly head. Case in point, the current conservative cabal, which is in charge in Washington, D.C., has defunded PBS and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and has taken back the $1.1 billion that they so desperately need to keep on with their wonderful shows and wonderful programming. But the Trump administration hates PBS because some years ago on Sesame Street, they had a puppet called, orange-headed puppet called Donald Trump, play on words. And Donald Trump has had it in for public broadcasting ever since. And now that he is the president, he is wasting no time venting his ire and being very vindictive, if I might add, in his assault against public broadcasting. Remember, public broadcasting has been in existence for well over 50 years, going all the way back to the beginning of when television began to appear in our homes. Because really, you had CBS, NBC, and ABC. There were no others. No CNN wasn't even thought of. But the government had what you call a public broadcasting ban, public broadcasting system, and it was for the purpose of doing educational programs. I think most of us grew up on Sesame Street, and a lot of us learned our ABCs looking at Sesame Street. Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street, or letter B, all that, those type of things. Those were children's programs, but they were educational. But now under Donald Trump, that is coming to an end, and the money that he has taken back from PBS, he is more than willing to give it to an ultra-conservative propagandist named Dennis Prager, who has been around for years, a generation. But now he is not planning to educate, but no, Dennis Prager wants to indoctrinate. And the difference between indoctrination and education leads you up out of, and indoctrination confirms you within a certain ideology, like racism or white supremacy. or the fact of a belief that all black people have less pain tolerance, have greater pain tolerance than other people, put it mildly. And so with these type of people in the ascendancy, and now threatening to affirm their ideologies as a doctrine to be taught in the classroom and to be broadcast over the airwaves, well, you can see that we've been at a very dangerous time. Dennis Prager is a ultra conservative white supremacist like William F. Buckley and that ilk, and Dr. Shockley, or in the ilk of Dr. Linnaeus, all right, and all of the other Blumenbach and all of those other what we used to call race science. It was pseudoscience. Pseudo means it didn't really exist. It was junk. But we have been subjected to that for a long time, and now we're going to be subjected to it again. And so you can see that somebody is trying to put out the sun and block the sunshine, but you and I must not allow them to put out the sun. All right? Currently, I'm reading a very good book here by a lady named Corita L. Brown. Let me put this up here. And the name of the book is The Battle for the Black Mind. Well, that's what we are in. We are in a battle. It has always been a battle for the black mind. Because during the era of slavery, open slavery, constitutional slavery, it was against the law to teach a slave to read or to write or to cipher. It was could be punishable even by death, or by stripes, or by fines if they caught you a second time. And with that type of ideology and policies in mind, you can see why there has always been a battle to control who is educating the black mind. Keeping in mind that going back into ancient antiquity, black people have been in the ascendancy thousands of years before Europe or China came onto the scene, as the late great poet Langston Hughes said in that epic poem, The Negro Speaks of Rivers. We looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids upon it, and those pyramids were raised thousands of years before there was a word pyramid. Originally, they were not called pyramids. The language of the people who built those pyramids was called mirrors, M-I-R-S, mirror. That is the genus of, and the genius of the ancient African people. Yes, I said ancient African because originally Egypt was in Africa until the cartographer, with his pen is mightier than the sword, always remember that, simply moved Egypt out of Africa and moved it over into what they call the Mediterranean area. And so a lot of the narratives that are espoused today are false narratives. As Miriam Makeba said one time, the conqueror writes the history, and don't expect the conqueror to say anything good about the conquered. And so these are the some of the factors and thoughts that I felt we needed to look at today. And she also talks in this book about Cecil John Rhodes, who was the founder of Rhodesia, of South Africa, really, and he came to conquer, and he conquered. He took the land of South Africa, and he founded the De Beers Diamond Mine Company, and they controlled 90% of all diamonds sold anywhere in the world. De Beers, and he still raking in millions, billions of dollars every year. White man that went to a black land and with violence, I said with violence, violently overthrew the governments of those nations and put those people in subjection. And that pattern has been emulated all over the world, and especially here in the United States, what is now the United States, originally the 13 colonies. Remember, there were people here when those pilgrims landed, and the pilgrims proceeded to slaughter and massacre and commit a genocide against the indigenous peoples that they encountered here. And that was after the fact that the indigenous people were very hospitable to the pilgrims and taught them how to fish and taught them how to plant and taught them how to hunt and taught them how to build housing and all of that type of thing. And in a show of their gratitude or ingratitude, the pilgrims in turn scalped the indigenous peoples and called them savages. Wow. And so you can plainly see how the world is in need of an education, not an indoctrination, but an education. Educate means to lead up out of, lead forward into the light, whereas an indoctrination is just that. I'm going to bury you where you are, and I'm only going to tell you what I want to tell you. And if you look at the white architects of black education or black history, there has always been a battle, as I said, for the black mind. Who's controlling the black mind? Who gets to educate the black child? And so these type of dangers are now coming to the fore, because remember, it's not just the black mind that's being poisoned, it's also the mind of the non-black people all over this land and country. And with the internet and all of that and the YouTube, why this propaganda is being broadcast, disseminated 24/7 all over the land. Who formulates the curriculum that is taught in our schools? Who sits on our PTA boards? Who's on the committee that buys the books that our children are asked to study out of? And what authors present their books to the various PTA book committees and the like, state commissions on education. We are in a battle for the soul of America, to quote the late Dr. Martin Luther King, and I feel we're losing the battle because of our failure to recognize the extent of the current danger. And if we don't move swiftly, Dr. Coretta Brown gives an example, said that you don't plant the seed of a tree and come back the next day expecting that tree to be full blown. No, you have patience. You're taking the long game. You a long view, and you know the tree has to take root downward before it begins to sprout upward and to affect the environment. Well, that is what the people have done here in United States with their 2025 Project 2025. 5 minutes, all right. God bless. With their Project 2025 ideology, and they have been working on this for 60 years, and it is now coming to pass. It's coming to fruition, and we are now on the late train of finding out about something that they have been plotting and planning ever since the Civil Rights Bill was signed way back in 1964, and following that with the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And they have been plotting and planning. The Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society and all of those ultra-conservative groups have been working behind the scenes, working with the Powell memo, as they say, memorandum, and their work is now in the ascendancy through the auspices and of Donald Trump. And you notice he's firing all of the capable and able people that have been head over agencies and over commissions and over departments, and he's putting in unqualified people in their places, unqualified by academic, unqualified by ideology, because a lot of, if you don't believe in education, why are you over the Department of Education, as Linda McMahon is? And so she's, like she said in her nomination, coming before the committee, I'm coming in here to shut down the Department of Education, and she's doing that. And going back to my original statement, when you see Trump pulling money back away from the PBS and Corporation for Public Broadcasting and giving it to an ultra-conservative like Dennis Prager, and now Dennis Prager is going to compete against PBS, or what will be left of PBS, because if we don't pick up the funding for PBS in a few years, there will be no PBS. Just like some of our historically black colleges that did such a great job coming up from slavery, coming up out of slavery, have, after the Rockefellers and the Carnegies pulled their funding following the end of what the white so-called philanthropists call the end of being able to control and being able to keep the Negro in his place. And when they began to see that we don't need the Negro to pick cotton no more, we got machines that do that. So we're not going to fund Bethune-Cookman College, or what was that woman college name? Lucy Laney's school. And so these things are what we are being confronted with left and right. And I hope I'm not being too incoherent. Let me close by saying that the present occupant of the White House is meeting with the present occupant of Russia. Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin are meeting today, and they're supposed to be meeting for world peace, knowing that Donald Trump wants to get nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for bringing peace to the world. And stay tuned and hold on to your hats on that one. As I close, let me say, if you're working on a job and they don't want to pay you, you know what you need to do? Don't work further. Thank you, Doc. We out here.